I'm Alex Michelson. This week on The Issue is the MeidasTouch. Meiselas brothers created a progressive media infrastructure now getting hundreds of millions of views online every month. Then Douglas Murray has millions of his own followers, largely on the right. We sit down at the Nixon Library to discuss the fight between democracy and death cults. Plus, Governor Newsom trying to blow up President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. The Issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
At a certain point, we turned to each other and we said, is there anything we could do? And long story short, MeidasTouch is the result of that.
That was the first time the Meiselas brothers appeared here on The Issue Is, back in 2020 when they were first starting off. Well, this year, they beat Joe Rogan multiple times for top podcast spot in the whole country. Here are some stats. Their show, 107.7 million downloads in April. They're averaging 33 million views every 48 hours, and they have more than 5 million subscribers. Ben, Brett, Jordy Meiselas, welcome back to The Issue Is, and congrats on all that crazy success.
Great to be here, Alex, and we were with you right from the beginning. Before there were millions of subscribers, you had us on. It's great to be back.
Well, we
all look so much younger in that video, though. That's the only issue that I see. It hasn't even been that long.
Ben, I mean, the digital space is so crowded. So many people now talking about politics. What do you think sets you all apart? What do you think is the secret to that success?
Look, I think it's power to the people. I think we've always recognized that our network is really built on a movement of people who care about democracy and who haven't been listened to, right? People have been expressing how they feel about issues that are really important. You know, when it comes to issues of housing, when it comes to issue about the costs of living, when it comes to issues of healthcare, when it comes to just issues of normalcy. And I think people have felt that they've been ignored on those issues. And because we've always listened and deeply cared, and we don't come from political backgrounds, we were just three brothers who were scared during the pandemic and wanted to try to make a difference. We've always just had a natural inclination just to listen and to hear people out and respond to that. And that's how we built this.
And early on, what was one of the keys to the success were these videos that you made about Donald Trump that often went viral, and you were able to defeat him in 2020. And now, of course, he's back as president and is really dominating the whole conversation once again. Brett, why do you think President Trump has been able to come back and continue to be so at the front and center of our political dialogue?
You know, I think there are people out there right now who are experiencing deep pain with the system in which we all exist, right? I think the country made a pact with everybody. It's called the American Dream, that everybody was going to be able to live lives better than their parents. And I think we've seen kind of the collapse of that pact. And I think it sent our politics into kind of turmoil. Now, in my opinion, I think Trump weaponized that sentiment and lied to the people in order to kind of take over the conversation once again. But Donald Trump clearly ran against the institutions, and people were angry about the institutions because the institutions were failing them.
Is there anything that he deserves credit for? I mean, if this Iran attack really did take out the nuclear weapon program in Iran, is that a good thing, Brett?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to judge everything on its merits, right? I'm not going to approach things and just say, oh, it's Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump. This is bad. Like, that's not how I'm going to approach things. But I want to know the truth. We bombed another country. It's a big deal. And to not totally understand the facts and to be told, on the one hand, right off the bat, have this kind of George W. Bush mission accomplished moment, spike the football. We did it. We obliterated the nuclear facilities. And then to get reports that said, hey, while we damaged the facilities, they're still very much standing and they're going to be able to rebuild this thing within a couple months. That's a big distinction that we have to know about. And so you need to get the facts in order to judge things good or bad. When I see that lying, when I see that gaslighting, that is a red flag for me.
Jordy, big week in New York politics. What do you make of Zohran Mamdani, who is a democratic socialist, not a big fan of capitalism, Israel, or the police, winning the Democratic nomination?
I'll say this. If you look at how Mamdani spoke to the people of New York, This is a guy who was on the ground, in the streets, showing up on the podcast, showing up in the digital ecosystems, and really connecting and resonating and speaking to the issues of the people of New York at such a larger scale than I think any of his other primary opponents were doing. It was a no-brainer why his message was resonating with folks.
Is there some danger, though, in the actual positions?
Well, look, I'm not a campaign manager for Mamdani, so I can't speak to all of his issues. But what he was running on is, I think, things that a lot of Americans want right now, which is better education, affordable housing, free busing. Americans feel that their issues have been ignored and that the billionaires are being favored, that there is a socialism taking place, but it's the billionaires getting all of the perks, all of the benefits. And I think Mamdani was running his campaign largely on the issues of affordability. That was, if I could sum it up quickly, it was affordability. You're getting screwed by this system. I want to help.
Ben, we here used to get the most interviews with Governor Newsom every year. But now he does the most with you. So how do you assess where he's at right now and this increased aggressiveness? I mean, he sounds like he's working for you guys some of the time, the way that his social media strategy, is gone.
Look, I think he's working for the people and he's fighting for the people. And people want to see gloves off right now, right? I think people really like Governor Newsom, the fighter, Governor Newsom, who stands up to Donald Trump and calls Donald Trump out. I think that's meeting the moment right now. I mean, I just remember that scene at the tarmac where after Donald Trump would call Governor Newsom new scum and do all of that image of them right there together, Governor Newsom standing taller than Donald Trump and saying, I'm here. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then Donald Trump had the opportunity, if he wanted to go and do his new scum routine, the cameras were there. The cameras were there. And so I like that Governor Newsom saying, look, come at me, tough guy. You want to arrest me? Come after me right now. I'm here to protect the people of the great state of California, while this Donald Trump keyboard warrior stuff, new scum this, new scum that. It's just, it's not adult behavior. Like, let's just pull a step back, right? Trump's not acting like a grown-up. If your boss behaved like that at a large, medium, small-sized company or a nonprofit, or even for fantasy football teams, right? If someone was like, hey, Alex Newsom, you'd be like, dude, why are you on my league? Like, what are you doing? like, get out. So why do we tolerate this behavior at the presidency level?
Quite frankly, I think a lot of our listeners are looking for who's that next person going to be. And the biggest question that they have is, who has my back? Who has my interests at heart? And I think Governor Newsom recognized this authentically, and he's come out swinging because Donald Trump picked a fight with him, and it was a fight that I think Governor Newsom was happy to take on.
Since we've been with you from the beginning, when you were just starting out, I mean, you have become this whole phenomenon. So real quickly, for each of you, what is the most surreal moment of this whole journey for you? Ben, let's start with you.
You know what? Being back on the show with you, Alex, right now is because, and I'm not just saying that to flatter you, although I'm partially saying it.
Yes.
I'm partially saying it.
You were in the White House with Joe Biden, and you're picking being a Zoom with the issue is? Come on. Even I'm not picking up on that BS, but go ahead.
Honestly, this is a dream come true right now. Split screen with you and my brothers. But when I reflect back on what we set out to accomplish 4 or 5 years ago, right? When no one was talking about independent media and pro-democracy media. So when I go out in public and when people come up to me and say how significantly this has impacted their lives and has helped them get through these times, those interactions to me are inspiring and surprising and make it all worth it every single day.
So if you were to go on social media at any given point on any platform and you look up Meidas, the way we spell it, you will find people who put Meidas in their name, Meidas Alex, Meidas Brett, Meidas. And these are people who don't work for us. These are people who are just so inspired by the movement that they will view this as, I'm a medical doctor and a Meidas. and it's a crazy thing for us, right? That to me truly blows me away and allows me to get up every day kind of inspired and ready to work because I know who I'm fighting for.
It's not about Ben, Brett, or Jordy. It's about the Meidas Mighty and the pro-democracy community that we're all rallying behind this message of, hey, we just want normalcy. We just want truth. We just want facts and data, and stop feeding me the other BS. And so to see that type of message resonate at such a larger scale that's continuing to grow week over week, month over month, it's been incredible to see. And we do view it as a tremendous amount of responsibility, and we're excited to keep on building.
Yeah, and I just noticed, Jordy, over your shoulder, you've got quite an award, right?
That's the Webby Award for Podcast of the Year. We were Podcast of the Year in 2025, so make sure you download the MeidasTouch podcast or subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple or Spotify. Check us out on youtube.com/MeidasTouch. Listen to the podcast. It's awesome.
Okay. I don't even need to do the promo. I guess you just read it. So there we go. Congratulations, guys. Really proud of all your success and grateful to call you friends.
We appreciate
you so much, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks. When we come back, a different view from conservative commentator Douglas Murray at the Nixon Library. We give you all the perspectives here on The Issue.
Douglas Murray to my left.
Douglas Murray has become a regular on some of the biggest shows in politics, from Bill Maher to Joe Rogan. Murray's appearances often go viral. This week, we sat down with Murray in Orange County in a very special room. We sit down with Douglas Murray inside an exact replica of the White House East Room at the Nixon Presidential Library in Yorba Linda. Isn't this one of the coolest rooms that you will ever be able to speak in? Isn't it amazing?
It's deeply cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And it's great to see a sold-out crowd. I love the energy. Murray has been speaking in front of sold-out crowds around the world for years now. His original reporting and neoconservative commentary getting an audience with everyone from Ben Shapiro to Bill Maher to Elon Musk to President Trump himself.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace.
We speak during a week where President Trump ordered the bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities. What do you think of what's happening in Iran?
President Trump fulfilled his promise to the American electorate, which many American presidents have said, but he followed up on, which was that under no circumstances could the world's most dangerous regime have ownership of the world's most dangerous weapons. And look at the number of countries around the world which also said for decades that the mullahs could not have nuclear weapons. And what did they do about it? Nothing. The most striking comment of the last week, in a way, was Chancellor Merz of Germany, who said in front of the German media, he said, the Israelis have just done our dirty work for us. What an extraordinary thing to say. But he was completely right. So it's a slightly long-winded way to answer the question, but let me just answer that very quickly. The question will be for historians, will what we're living through at the moment, what will it be called? What will the name of this war be called? It might be the war of 1979 to 2025. It might have been that when the Ayatollah Khomeini was allowed to fly back from Paris to Tehran in 79 and then spread terrorism across the Middle East, maybe that's about to come to an end. Maybe it'll be known as the post-October the 7th war.
An initial intelligence report, first reported by CNN, questions whether the B-2 bombers actually obliterated Iran's nuclear program, something President Trump strongly denies.
The site was obliterated, just like I said it was.
I don't want to sound like I'm imitating Trump, but he dropped a lot of bombs. A lot of bombs.
Big bombs, too.
Big bombs.
Big. During his visit, Murray tours the Nixon Library grounds and reflects on the 37th president. What lessons do you think we can learn from his experience and his worldview that can be applied right now?
You know, one of the extraordinary things about writing about history, and also writing about history as it's happening like this, is after the facts, everybody is a wise guy. Now every high school student can think that, you know, for instance, communism wasn't going to spread. I mean, it wasn't like that half a century ago, and it might not have come out this way.
You say communism is not spreading, but there may be socialism spreading in New York City.
I just heard this news.
As we spoke, it was becoming increasingly clear that Zohran Mamdani would become the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City. He is a critic of Israel who has advocated to free Palestine and supported defunding the police.
I moved there 5 years ago, and this news that we got a few minutes ago, if it is confirmed, I don't know, maybe I'll move to California.
Got plenty of room here.
But I'll tell you.
Gavin Newsom welcomes you with open arms.
I'm not sure. He might not count me a win.
Yeah. Murray signing hundreds of copies of his new book at the library. On Democracies and Death Cults, Israel and the Future of Civilization debuted at #1 on the Sunday Times bestseller list. It includes Murray's reporting from Israel after October 7th, talking to survivors, hostage families, and even visiting Gaza. Define how you see this struggle, not only between good and evil, but people who love life and people who love death.
The extremists, so certainly the jihadists say, which is we love death more than you love life. And when October the 7th happened, several things happened immediately afterwards that deeply shook me. One was that on the 8th of October in New York City, I went down to Times Square because there was a protest arranged. And the protest was of New Yorkers celebrating the attacks that were still going on. And I was horrified by that. And it was one of the reasons I tried to get to Israel as soon as I could afterwards. And it was a call that one of the October the 7th Hamas terrorists made back to his parents in Gaza. He gets hold of his father, and he says, "Father, Father, I have killed 10 Jews with my own hands. With my own hands, your son has killed 10 Jews." And he is ecstatic. Ecstatic. He says, "Get mother on the phone. Get mother. Get my brother on the phone. Turn on to WhatsApp video. I can show you the bodies." And I just thought, what a difference it is, again, and I can give thousands of examples of this, but what a difference in a society where you find out your children are dead and you're happy, and a society where you would do anything but get that news.
Critics of the Israeli government will say that there's a lot of innocent people in Gaza who don't worship Geth, who have been killed in airstrikes and the rest of it. How do you sort of square that? Do you think that Israel has gone too far at times and needs to be walked back?
I always have a challenge to these people, which I simply say to them, fine, tell me how you would achieve the following. And let's say that right next door to where you're living, this very densely well-built up terrorist infrastructure invaded you, killed hundreds and hundreds of your people, took 250 more hostage. Tell me how you would operate in that terrain to ensure that you kill or capture all the leaders of the people who did this and wipe out their ability to ever rule that entity again. And secondly, how you get back 250 hostages. And I have yet to hear a critic of the Israeli government's actions give me a viable plan for how you would get back the hostages.
Murray says he's most inspired by the Israeli people.
You know, on October the 7th, a moment of enormous trial came, and the young men and women of Israel stood up, and wow, did they stand up. And just to finish it, just to finish this point, the reason I mention this is because this should give hope to everybody. That the death cults say, we love death even more than you love life. And the answer to that is, we do not apologize for cherishing life. We will not apologize for loving life. In fact, it's why we'll win.
You can watch our full hour-long conversation with Douglas Murray streaming now at youtube.com/Alex Michelson. You can also listen to it in podcast form. Search for The Issue Is wherever you stream. We'll be right back with Governor Newsom.
And according to the Council of Economic Advisors, these reforms will protect or create more than 7 million jobs.
President Trump is pushing congressional Republicans to pass what he calls the Big Beautiful Bill. Governor Newsom calls it a big, ugly bill.
People need to make phone calls, call their representatives. How shameful. I don't know how these people can walk their districts.
The governor hosting a virtual press conference towards the end of the week with California's healthcare leaders, saying that bill threatens to eliminate healthcare coverage for up to 3.4 million people and cut at least $28.4 billion in Medicaid funding. I asked him about it.
Are you getting a sense that this message is working, that any of the Republican members of Congress that you're talking to, that California's lobbyists are talking to, are willing to push back on this and that this thing might not actually pass?
Well, they won't be working in 18 months. They'll be out of a job. I can't even conceive of being representatives in those districts. Now, they'll have a second chance, and we're all for second chances. Valadao and these guys will have a second chance to do the right thing. Did the wrong thing. He voted for these cuts. He was part of the group that voted for him. When they come back, he has a chance to stand tall. And if he doesn't, I think he should stand down. I don't even think he should run for re-election. What claim do you have that you're a representative of the people in a district with 64% of its population that are on Medicaid?
President Trump says the bill will cut taxes and help the economy. He hopes the Senate will pass it by this time next week. We'll wrap things up after this. That's the moment. The issue is won the LA Press Club Award for Outstanding TV Talk Public Affairs Show. The biggest shout out goes to our editor and co-executive producer, Debbie Kim, who worked so hard on that episode. We won for our profile of Father Greg Boyle, who created Homeboy Industries, the country's largest gang intervention program. At a time of so much pessimism, Father Boyle represents hope, forgiveness, second chances, and love. We all can learn a lot from him. If you missed that episode, search for Father Boyle, The Issue Is, on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching this week. We'll see you next week for more.